This is not the Museum of the Future. This is my warehouse in Bangkok. After a huge solo exhibition in the National Gallery of Thailand. My best work, actually. That was a great exhibition because the concept was so good, and the reflection about art and society and humanity in a philosophical and contemporary perspective was so incredibly good. It was so well done. So it's a shame that it was in Bangkok, that so few people could see it. The works of art is not so important, but the concepts were very nice, and the installations, the room installations, were good. Now, yeah, so this is not the Museum of the Future. The Museum of the Future is a manifestation of the situation of the human being. The Museum of the Future is a manifestation of the situation of the human being, mentally, in a mental perspective. I mean, it's the phenomenology of perception. The Museum of the Future is a manifestation of the human program, the human mental program. The Museum of the Future is an exposition. It is an exposition of the human program, which means how people go from perception to conception, and from there goes to making concepts and attaching to concepts and action. It's a manifestation and a reflection on how people interpret all the time, how we interpret things, and therefore how life also in some sense is virtual. You know, every individual lives in his own, inside his own perception. He lives inside his own perception of his perception. He lives inside his own experience of his own experience. He lives inside the way that he perceives himself perceive the world. So in some way you could say that all life is virtual because it exists only in the mind of the individual to a certain extent. But the interesting thing about the Museum of the Future is that it will be an exposition of how the human being acts in his own mental human program. It will be an exposition of how he perceives, how he after perceiving, it will be an exposition of how he conceives, how he goes from perception to conception, and how he attaches to his own conception in order for him to manifest his interpretations, and in order for him to act on his concepts. The reason why this is important is simply because of the state of the world. We have to improve humanity, we have to improve global world society. And the reason why we have to improve global world society is because humanity is so bad. I mean, we have too many wars, we stone people, we execute people, we put people in prison because of the lack of freedom of speech. There are so many countries in the world that have quite appalling human rights records, and we make the same mistakes again and again when it comes to war, when it comes to terrorism, when it comes to conflicts, when it comes to acting. Actually, when it comes for people to act, within their human program, but they don't see that. We don't see that. We don't see how we are victims, or how we follow our own human program, or how our human program is deciding and controlling the way that we perceive, conceive, and also act. We don't see that. And we should, because we have to improve ourselves, and we have to improve global world society. We have to make it more beautiful, you know. We have to make life, society, humanity, and all these things an appropriate arena for beauty and culture and truth. And we have not succeeded in doing so. We have succeeded in creating a world full of overpopulation, pollution, corruption, and oppression, and the lack of freedom of speech, and the lack of cultivated human behavior and knowledge. So the Museum of the Future is actually an exposition of how the human being acts and reacts within his own human program, within the mental apparatus that constitutes him as a being. And this should be done in order to show in what kind of circumstance that we live, so that we can achieve the goal of the ancient Greeks and of every philosopher in the world, and of every good attitude and approach when it comes to humanity whatsoever, which means see yourself, know yourself, understand humanity, and the things that we can do and what we should not do in order to make an appropriate global world society as an arena for our common human values and qualities. Yes, thank you.